What's going on, guys? This is Rob. If you guys enjoy my content, make sure you hit the subscribe button and make sure you hit that little bell so you never miss out on my sexy voice. Admittedly, I've never been a huge fan of the Transformers. It's never really been my thing. Like I know it was a show and I know there's a huge culture behind it, but I'd never really had a reason to get into it before. And in all honesty, like anybody else, I kind of get burned out on Marvel and DC. Sometimes I just want to like talk about something else. And I was trying to figure out a place to start with Transformers because they have a really lengthy history. Now, those people who are really knowledgeable about Transformers can probably give me like a really good place to go to. So sure, feel free to post a comment and let me know what a really good place to start is. But as I was going through the various stories and looking what, IDW had to offer, I came across All Hail Megatron. And the good thing about this is that this kind of picks up with like how the normal person like me perceives the Transformers. The Decepticons and the Autobots have been fighting each other, and apparently the Decepticons basically won, they defeated the Autobots, and now they set their sights on Earth. So it's almost like picking up with the Transformers film, but it is cool because I gotta tell you, man, this story, All Hail Megatron, I never realized how good Transformers comics were. It is insane. Like it's absolutely bonkers. And it's funny because like initially this picks up with like the Constructicons, right? They all just kind of show up and like it's hilarious because they show up and they're like, hey guys, like we're here as friends. We're here to be nice. Like we're here to, give you guys technology and stuff like that. And humanity's kind of excited about it, right? I mean, this is like huge sentient robots have appeared on Earth, and you can kind of see it going down like this, right? Like Twitter hashtags, #Transformers. Like you could see it happening, and people are like taking videos and stuff. And then like the Constructicons are just like, nah, we're just messing around, and they start destroying everything. I mean, that's not funny. We shouldn't laugh. We shouldn't laugh at the Constructicons killing everyone. But this is, I mean, it's insane. It's like an all-out assault, right? Like it's the Constructicons, then it's like the flight Transformers, like Starscream, and they just kind of come rolling in and just decimating everyone. And it's awesome. Starscream, from what I've seen, like he's rapidly showing up to be like one of my favorite characters because like Starscream shows up onto the scene, and like from what I've been able to pick up, Starscream's like trying to take the place of Megatron. And it seems like all the Transformers have like their own personalities and what it is they're trying to accomplish. Some of them are just like Ravage, just like diligent to the Transformers cause. Like, yep, I'm alongside the Decepticons. I am part of this, and I am never going to become an Autobot. Whereas you have someone like Soundwave, who's like, yeah, I'm allied with the Decepticons, so long as their interests don't run contrary to my own. And it's kind of cool, with this whole thing. But like humanity's just fleeing for their lives, right? I mean, it's hilarious. People are just like panicking, running, like oh, it's the end times, man. And it's pretty insane because from there, like Megatron jumps in, and this is one of the cool things I like because in my mind's eye, I look at Megatron as just like the big bad is here. Megatron is on the scene. And that's kind of what you expect, right? I mean, that's kind of what I expect. I mean, we don't really get it, but I would expect like a full page splash screen, like Megatron is here. And it's funny because the interaction between Megatron and Starscream right off the bat is you're trying to usurp my position. I know you are, but like, you'll never be me. You'll try, but you'll never be me. Why? Because Megatron is often imitated, never duplicated. And that's the cool thing I love about his character. That's why I love Megatron so much in this story. But it's funny because he like talks down and kind of mocks Starscream, right? I mean, they're showing up and they're like destroying streets and cars and attacking people. And Megatron's idea is you think small. That's why you are small. And he just obliterates a city block. Just wipes out a city block. That's why it's so cool, is because you pick up with DJ. Like he's just like, one of the guys that are out there. And of course, him along with the Air Force is just like scrambling jets. And it's kind of cool because it's like, all right, look, like we have to find a way to retaliate against this. Now, under normal circumstances, we wouldn't really expect humanity to have a chance against the Transformers. And so they don't. Like it's funny because they show up here as firing off rockets, that kind of a thing. And the cool thing is, remember, with Soundwave, one of his abilities is to basically kind of like disrupt, technology to a degree. And so in this instance, the rockets that are firing, their missile guidance systems are just kind of being disrupted by Soundwave, and they're just sort of going awry. They can't do anything. And that kind of makes sense. With Transformers being as advanced as they are, we wouldn't expect somebody to be able to show up and then just like stab Megatron in the face with a knife and then he wins. Like we wouldn't expect something that primitive. And even with like jets and all the technology that humanity has, that's kind of like the foundation here, that like with all the great things humanity has done, all it takes is like a handful of sentient robots and it all comes crashing down. Now DJ, for his worth, is just kind of like, okay, if we can't take them down using missiles because the guidance systems don't work and bullets don't penetrate their armor, then like I'll do the only thing I can do and like fly my jet into Megatron. And so it's a suicide run. The guy goes full kamikaze and it doesn't work. Like when he flies his jet directly in, nothing happens. And it's just kind of like, dude, this is designed to kind of be like this scenario of like humanity has no hope, right? Like things are kicking off now, like humanity can't really do anything. So it's kind of building up, this whole idea of just how capable the Decepticons are. Now from here we pick up with a guy, Colonel Witwicky, and it's hilarious because he's talking to this dude named Chad Wells. And apparently like Colonel Witwicky likes cars, right? And so, Chad Wells is like, hey man, like your wife told me that you like cars. He's like, yeah man, I dig cars. And so Chad Wells is like, I drive a Toyota Prius, and that's adorable, and Witwicky's response is like, yeah man, my car is a 1968 Mustang V8 Fastback with a 390 cubic inch big block. And Chad Wells is just like, what's a V8? Like it's hilarious because I mean, like, I gotta be honest, Colonel Witwicky, man, he's got it going on. Like my dream car is a 1971 Chevelle Super Sport. Like that's what I want. Like I just want like a muscle car. But it's kind of funny, with this whole thing, because this exchange is kind of designed to put us in this mindset that when you look at Colonel Witwicky, his place, his residence, what he calls home is combat. And the reason for this is because he's initially brought back in. Like he's basically hit up by the US military. Colonel, we need you to come in. And notice how calm he is. Like he doesn't really seem out of place. I mean, he wasn't really out of place before. It was kind of a confidence of like, I'll do it because it makes my wife happy, but like, this is where I belong. This is where I need to be. And just sort of races off. Now, the funny thing about this is like, they hit him up and they're like, we have an emergency. It's like, well, what kind of an emergency is it? Well, gee, I don't know, Colonel Witwicky. Sentient machines have attacked New York and like humanity is just being totally decimated. Like that kind of an emergency. Like, and the funny thing about this is that indications are given that humanity knew about the Transformers, or at least the CIA seemed to know about the Transformers, but no real information is forthcoming. It's one of those things where it's, beyond, top secret. We can't just tell some lowly colonel, that kind of a thing that you expected, like this sort of intelligence versus military exchange and like a Hollywood film or something like that. But again, this is all just panic mode. From the perspective of DJ, like he's running, he's fleeing from Ravage, he runs into a couple of people, they take refuge in a warehouse more or less, and it's just kind of, we're responding as best we can. Now, humanity is essentially setting up response locations. Basically, like, here's our base of operations. I don't know if it's called like triage. From what I understand, triage is setting up a place in order for people to like receive medical treatment in a combat setting. I'm not familiar with military terms, so forgive me if I kind of botch that and screw it up. In response to this, the Decepticons are kind of like, well, I mean, we can take this different ways. Humanity's basically set up like a huge, military campaign, and they're gonna make moves against us. Let's dispatch the Insecticons. But the funny thing about this is that Megatron's response is, no, we're not gonna do that. What we're gonna do is we're gonna dispatch Frenzy. Man, let me tell you something, man. Dude, Frenzy is a one-man army. Like, you wanna talk about crazy. Like, you wanna talk about absolutely nuts. I love Frenzy here. I don't know anything about him. Don't know a freaking thing about Frenzy. I've got no clue. Like, what the backstory is about Frenzy. Have no idea, like, where he's coming from or what he's about. But damn it if it's not awesome, because this dude shows up and cleans house. There's just like the military's like, yeah, man, like, we'll set up here. We'll begin our, forward operations. We'll start taking back New York City. Oh, my bad. We forgot about like the insane Decepticon who's just going to rip us to pieces. And that's exactly what happens. Now, the other thing about this is like the regular citizenry, the normal people, the moms and dads and the average Joes, they're all just taking off to like the Holland Tunnel. Get while the getting's good. Now, we jump to Colonel Witwicky. He gets the notification, right? Like, hey, we got reports back about the whole event. We had a few casualties. It's like, well, okay, well, how many of them did we lose? Everyone. Like in this immediate location, the US has virtually no response. And so what we end up doing is finding out that like the Constructicons have basically merged into like Devastator again. And so at this point, they start targeting the tunnels. And that's the panic of the military. Like, okay, well now they're going for the civilians. But notice this. This is a great military strategy by Megatron. On the surface, it looks like they're just like tearing things up. What he's doing here with New York is cutting it off from the outside world. The tunnels get destroyed, the bridges get destroyed, no one gets in or out. And it's a great strategy. And so because of this, what we end up doing is picking up with DJ and a handful of others in the tunnel, and then there's like a train coming down the tunnel. And they're like, oh yeah, it's a train. The train's gonna rescue us. It is a train. It is the pain train. Like it's just a train, like a Decepticon just manifests and just starts attacking people. Dude, I'm sorry if I'm so excited, people, but it is an exciting story. But again, it's cool because humanity's trying its best to respond to the situation, or at least in the immediate, with regards to like New York and the surrounding areas, humanity's trying to respond. The problem with this is that the naval fleet was supposed to be responding. Like it was literally all hands on deck. Like that's one of the cool things. The President of the United States ordered that all military personnel outside of the US be recalled to the United States to defend its borders. And that's why this is interesting because keep in mind, assuming this follows historical accuracy of the United States, no foreign enemy has ever set foot on US soil since the War of 1812, when the British burned down the White House in New York and the United States moved it to Washington, D.C. Nothing like this has happened since. And so when this happens, it's like, we call everyone, get them back here, come on, because like machines are wrecking New York. But like the fleet, there was a simple radio broadcast over the fleet, and the indication is that it was being absolutely eradicated. Over the course of a handful of days, the White House has been totally destroyed, you know, Congress is gone, the president is gone, the US military is in shambles. I mean, it's literally just like decimation on a scale that like the US and the world have never really seen before. And so that's why it's so intense, that's why it's so wild, is because in the end, you end up having Megatron that just kind of surveys, you know, his landscape, surveys his you know, headquarters more or less, and says, this is where we will operate from. We will basically spread outward. We will take over this world. This will be our new land. Because remember, Cybertron's basically a dead world now. And so it's like, we will take over all this. This is where we're going to reside. And so again, it's almost like this war of attrition, so to speak. You know, it's just overwhelming odds against an enemy they can't possibly begin to comprehend the technology they're facing off against. We jump back to DJ, it's the exact same thing. DJ and them are hanging out in the tunnels, they're hiding out. People are starting to dissent. They're starting to say, look, we don't really know if you're an effective leader. It's desperation that's starting to kick in. No leader's actually been formed. But when it comes to these sort of panicky situations, in a time of desperation, people will believe what they want to believe. And they believe DJ is their leader. But where DJ says, like, I'm not necessarily the one running this show, you know, people begin to kind of voice dissent. They kind of look at this and say, look, we need to get out of here. We have to go somewhere else. The city is in danger, all the while not realizing if they ascend from the tunnels and they go out into the streets of New York and they leave New York and they get out into the rest of the world, it's no better. Everything's just as bad almost everywhere else. And so what we end up, you know, kind of ending this little tidbit of a story on is the Decepticon returns yet again. And again, that idea is to just take out the tunnels, to crush the subway stations, to kill as many people as humanly possible in order to basically exterminate the existing, you know, race that's prevalent on Earth, and then replace them with Decepticons who effectively run everything. But with that being said, guys, we're gonna bring this video to an end. If you are new here to Comics Explained, make sure you guys hit the sub button to become part of the Rob Corps. If you guys enjoy this video, make sure you drop a like, and I will catch you all later. Peace.